So, what is a mole and why should I care? Well, Webster says that the definition of a mole is the SI amount of a substance equal to the quantity containing as many elementary units as there are atoms in 0.012 kilograms of carbon-12. We're not talking about the adorable animal, but why is this confusing? Well, a mole actually describes a certain number of objects in a group, like a dozen, or a pair, or a century, or a six-pack, or a quartet. Well, how many things are in a mole? Well, a dozen has 12 things. A pair has 2 things, and like a six-pack would have 6 beers. But a mole has 6 sextillion things. Now that's a big number. How can we sort of understand this? Well, if you had a mole and you spent $1 million every minute of your life, you'd still have 99.99% of your money left. Now, let's say we took sheets of paper and we took a mole of sheets of paper and stacked them on top of each other. We could make it to the moon and back 80 million times. So when your mama gets a pair of jeans and she asks for the waist to be a mole of inches, she would be 1.6 million light years around the waist. Okay, so we get it, moles are big, but why should I care? Well, moles are a way to figure out how many particles are in a certain mass of a given substance. Well, how much does a mole weigh? It really depends on the substance that you're weighing, that you're measuring. Say if you have a mole of water, you'd have 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd, or 6 sextillion kilograms, which is approximately the weight of Mars. But how much does a mole weigh if you're talking about something like carbon in an element? Well, when we're talking about a mole of carbon, we're talking about a mole of carbon atoms. And 1 mole of carbon weighs 12.011 grams. The number in red specifies the number of grams of the mole in that element. Think of this as like a grams to mole ratio. In 1 mole of carbon there are 12 grams, but also in 1 mole of carbon there are 6 sextillion atoms. Now let's wrap things up. Today we learned that a dozen is like a mole. A dozen has 12 things and a mole has 6 sextillion things. We know that a mole is really, really big. If we were having a mole of a liter, we would have the same mass as Mars. And we learned that we can find the grams per mole ratio under the letter of the periodic table.